What is that one thing that you have absolutely zero trust on? Let's start off with Mr. Yogesh Kumar, CISO, Tata Power Strategic Engineering Division. Mr. Kumar, what would that item be that you have zero trust on? Very quickly.
Thanks, Nagita. So during this pandemic time, so everybody has realized that the boundaries have been extended, our office boundaries, working boundaries. Earlier, we were used to confine the people within the network, and still there was trust available onto the network side that we know that this is the people, this is the person on the other side. But when it has gone to their home and work from anywhere, the boundaries have just gone demystified. So there is no boundary now. So you don't know where is the network, where is that person. So zero trust comes into that picture. So how we trust that it means either we trust him completely or we don't even trust that person, right? So that gap, how to fill that gap from zero trust to trust level, that the technology is helping us to play that role. And it's not only the technology, it's the people that they should understand how it should be driven.
Right. Fantastic answer, Mr. Kumar. I was expecting something like, bad laptop or electricity, but wow, very, very thought-provoking indeed. Of course, we have Mr. Balram Choudhary, CISO of AskGroup. Mr. Choudhary, what would your answer be? What is that one item that you have zero trust on?
Trust or no trust? So zero trust. So I'll say zero trust. And nowadays, while the threat landscape is changing, people are going beyond the zero trust. So zero trust is nothing but it's a framework. So one tools and technology will not help. And now this pandemic going on since 2 years, and whereas we have started work from anywhere scenarios, so no one was ready. No one was ready with the technology. Rather, they were using, that very older technology that's called VPN, which has been expired and not secure. So zero trust came into the picture. It's not a single tools and technology, but it's a framework which include all kind of tools and technology inbuilt it in, and then you create a zero trust architecture. Now, above that, nowadays people are talking about SASE framework. That's called secure access services, which that zero trust is part of one that. So which includes secure web gateway, which include, that SD-WAN technology and many things.
Sir, we were not asking technically. We just said one item you have zero trust on. That's it.
So,
sir, one item that you have zero trust on, not in a technical answer. Just in life, you don't have zero trust on that. Absolutely.
No, so if you are staying in the family, you have to trust your family now. Zero trust, you cannot trust to external guys.
That is a beautiful answer. Exactly.
So zero trust differentiate between the technology versus family. You have to trust your family, but you cannot trust to external world.
Exactly.
That is the one, yeah.
Done, sir. Done. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Manoj Sarangi, the Senior Vice President, IT, NSDL. In life, what is that one thing that you have zero trust on?
So zero trust doesn't mean that do not trust. Okay, that's the first, preamble. So zero trust will mean that trust and verify. Trust but verify. Okay, each time you see someone, including the family members, you don't know what, the family member brings. But in a contextual technology world, you trust everything, but verify at the same time. Reaffirm your trust in something and verify each time you interact. So that's a contextual structure to what you are talking about.
My ladies and gentlemen, my apologies are absolutely technocrats, and I'm asking them a very difficult question. I think just asking for one answer, but okay, I appreciate how they always get to the contextuality of it. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Fantastic answer, Mr. Manoj, of course, Mr. Sunil Kulkarni, the CISO Bajaj Allianz Life Insurance. Sir, in life, Make it a very interesting answer. What is that one thing you don't trust?
So the one thing I don't trust is, what is the next, second which is left for me. So that is so it's every second and every minute is something which I don't trust. What is going to be the next which will come to me? So that is the kind of the world which we live in. So that is from a life I can say that.
Absolutely, Mr. Sunil, fantastic. Thank you so very much. And of course, we have with us Dr. Mukund KS, the AVP and Head IT, ERIS Lifesciences. Mr. Mukund, Dr. Mukund, what would your answer be?
I think I would not trust the weather prediction report by the Indian government.
Yes.
That is something that I would never trust. They would say it would rain and it would never gonna rain, and it's gonna be always the vice versa. So that is something that I hardly would trust, at least.
And there will be many more examples for the government. This is not the political one.
Well, at least something that we can relate on a day-to-day basis, right? So I totally agree with you from a government perspective, so many things, but then, yes.
That can be said out publicly without...
We'll have a separate conversation over
Yes.
That is the panel
Look
discussion.
at the political party agenda.
So true.
Mr. Balram is all said to that I am not a part of this conversation. If this video leaks out, I said that was not me moderating the session. Okay.
No, don't worry.
Admin is
Don't
always
worry.
held
Don't-
responsible.
No. Don't worry. We are staying in democratic world and we are having right to speak. And whatever is wrong, and we can always speak.
That's fantastic. Thank you so very much. All right. Our very first question is, there has been a lot of hue and cry on cybersecurity at the board level, and recently, would love to hear your perspective. Please share why cybersecurity has become so important from a board standpoint, and we would love for Dr. Mukund to kindly take this up.
Sure. So probably, Nikita, I think I was supposed to be moderating the event.
Yes, I got to, I was told that you have a hard stop, hence I have to pitch in.
Sure.
But how about Dr. Mukund? How about you take it ahead? And
Okay.
I wanted to have this discussion with you. You take it ahead. Wherever is it that you have to leave, let me know. I will step in then. That is a better way of doing it.
That's
And,
really helpful. Thanks for that. I truly appreciate that, because at 5:25 I do have a hard stop today.
Absolutely, sir. Dr. Mukund, please take it ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, probably I will start off in a way like where I probably would say that this year 2021, right? It has cast a pretty bad spell, and this spell is across the entire civilization. It is over economies, it is over countries, it is also over businesses. And also at this point of time, it has been adding on to the woes of that every business and organizations are going through. And along with this, at the current point of time, are these malicious actors, threat actors, who are probably looking at how do we probably impact the already toiling organizations in terms of cyber espionage, or in terms of ransomware attacks or intellectual property right thefts that they could probably do. Even Microsoft, at a point of time that they had detected, since I come from a pharmaceutical industry, and then what happened is that every business today is impacted by cybersecurity. Microsoft had actually detected that there were some cyber attacks that were happening from the nation statewide actors, especially targeting the organizations that were looking at the vaccine developments. So developments by countries in Switzerland, across Europe, US, and India. So this is what was happening. The targets were coming from North Korea, and it was from also China and Pakistan. What was also observed, or what Microsoft stated, was that there was this organization called Strontium, and Strontium was deploying a password spray kind of mechanism and a brute force attack to look at how they could probably take those credentials, or like how they could probably steal credentials, login credentials. And there's another state actor called Zinc, which was also using a spear phishing kind of mechanism for credential theft. All these certain reasons become so important why today businesses probably need to ensure on cybersecurity, or fortifying the business with cybersecurity becomes so important. And with that note, once again, a great invite to all our panelists. So we will start deep diving over here. So probably I'm going to probably put across my first question out over here with the focus light out over here to Manoj. So Manoj, like my friend over here, well, I'm just trying to understand this, like as the first query that has been raised across, there's been a lot of hue and cry in terms of cybersecurity. And the boardrooms are being filled with the question on cybersecurity resonance. How does cybersecurity affect the board members today? And why is it becoming so imperative for us to look at cybersecurity from a board perspective?
Thank you, Dr. Mukund. So a very interesting question, forget about the board, 29th, there was a question in the parliament on a data breach, okay, which was in the news since last many, weeks. So it has reached the parliament, and there are questions being raised in parliament on the data breaches that have been, happening. Quite natural that it flows to every business, and the impact is much more higher. Earlier, the board was restricted to discussing only the risks, which are operational risks, business risks, which are more, closed risk. Now, cyber risk, the reason it has far-fetching impact. Not only during the pandemic, before that also, most of the organization had become data-driven organization, and the most precious asset of an organization is its data. And if it gets compromised, the impact is extremely high. So, the resonance has to be, at the top. And top of the organization is obviously the board. So there is a lot of hue and cry throughout many industries why board is not even having members who have specialized skills in cybersecurity. So that is also being looked at. And if you look at the CISOs, there are a lot of changes that has happened. CISOs have become guards to detectives. Now from data centers, they have moved to boardrooms. So last decade, I've seen a large transformation that has happened in the security arena. These are some of the reasons and repercussions why cybersecurity has gained so much importance in last 5 or 6 years. And adding to that, the malwares or the attacks that has increased. And if you look at the DVIR report, Verizon data breach investigation report, you'll see it gives a very, very structured way of the various data breaches that are being, happening in across the industry. And you'll see there is a steady increase in, breaches and the impact of the breaches. So, and also, cost of the breaches has increased significantly. So that directly impacts the finances of the company. So obviously that's a reason the board should be discussing it more often.
I think great thoughts out over there. So if I was just to pull out a couple of excerpts from that, I think the very, very interesting points that you're raising, because even Gartner has also mentioned or probably predicted that 45% of CISOs are going to take up roles at the board level. So that's a very interesting stat, and when it's coming from Gartner. Also, another important point that you did make was in terms of how not only at the board level, but even at a country level today, especially at India, what's happening is in the data privacy law of India that is getting further built for the current December Parliament, where they're probably trying to ensure that they are working on what I have been able to understand is going to become stronger than probably the GDPR. So the current data privacy law is also going to encompass for public listed companies to also start ensuring that they have a CCMP plan or a cyber crisis management plan in place where they can better interface and integrate with organizations like METI or NTRO. So it becomes very important, and also to report any cybersecurity issues to the government is a mandate that CISOs will have to do. So very, very clear points that you've been able to share. So thanks for that perspective, Manoj. That's been very helpful. And I'm going to shift the spotlight now to Balram. And for these businesses to function, like today we are all talking about businesses, and for businesses to function, we need to integrate with multiple organizations where we may need to to collaborate. And during the point of collaboration comes in the various APIs. Now, that's where the whole thing lies. Like, we are moving towards an API-based economy. And as we move to a more API-based economy, there are further challenges in terms of cybersecurity or the risks the Pandora's box opens. What could you probably share, or how do we probably secure this API economy, or what could your thoughts be over there, please?
Firstly, I'll not give you the answer in one line. The answer is in one line. However, so you know that CISO or any organizations or CIO, they are the existence of the business.
True.
Because if I am going to work there, I am getting salaried. So, and that's why I am CISO. So my job is to how to safeguard the customer information, organization informations, financial transactions, and all. However, but still, there are plenty of technology which is getting implemented. And then the same time, you have investment while you are giving some access to the users. You are giving access to the users, which is using, that 8 GB RAM and blah, blah, and then you will put 10 or 12, something like the software tools, which will make non-productive to the organization. So we need to think about that also. Now you have talked about API. So the fintech organization has increased too much in India and even in the country. And if you would like to be in the market, the organizations would like to time to market, there is a need for integrations. And you are not going to be proprietary of each and every asset which you would like to access. So now if you would like to do some kind of payment authentications, nowadays there are 10 to 15 payment authority. So you are not going to put your own gateway, either your bank or any financial organization, rather you will try to consume their API. And the parallelly, API is giving their main benefit to the fintech organization and fintech company, fintech developer who will come and consume your API, and at the same time they will create a good kind of product which will be helpful for the organization. As and when they are not your employee, but they are developing your API in your environment. So consuming vice versa, someone else is consuming your API and we are consuming someone else's API. It's happening since a decade, I think 8 to 10 years. But the threat landscape has been changed. How to ensure that the API which has been written, it's a good, the fintech supposed to be responsible enough also to ensure the way they are writing API, it's a secure enough. Something like that, writing code to keeping in mind security also. So I'll say there are multiple technology which is available in the market to safeguard, that API security, API breaches, which is happening mostly from the authentication authorization stage. So I will prefer to have, this depends upon, this is a very costly affair. This again depends upon organization to organization. Class A to Class C, there are multiple API, the gateway service provider which is available and who is going to give what. So there are costly, there is a 5-star, 3-star, 2-star also available in the market who can say and claim that, yeah, I am very good API security, even if you are consuming, even the code, there is no PT, but still I am going to safeguard. Just I will whitelist your code in your gateway and then it's secure, but no way. So you have to follow the entire process while you are developing application. That's called software development life cycle, be it API, either you are consuming, someone else is consuming, do the proper VA, do the proper PT, and ensure that the API consuming happens via only API gateway, any kind of API gateway, so that same time it will be secure and organizations can accelerate their business, because business job is to grow their business. IT job is to ensure that provide the proper tools and technology, and our job is to ensure that how we are going to secure those tools and technology available in the organization. So my answer is in one way, API gateway is mandatory to be available in each and every organization, and there are multi-fold things which can be discussed on the API security as well. There are many guys who is coming to different way they sell the technology. This is what my take. It's an API gateway for consuming. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Balram. Very interesting, because especially when you did mention about the coding part. So good coding standards become very essential when you're looking at from an API perspective. So typically what I'm able to read from what you're saying is like, a lot of issues could come from API, like a SQL injection could happen. So how do people validate and how do they sanitize all this data in the API becomes so essential? Or there could also be a cross-site scripting that happens, like an XSS kind of impact that can also go there. So how do you validate what kind of input is given, and how do you look at the characteristics of it become important? Or even a man-in-the-middle attack can happen on the API. So it becomes very important when what I'm able to see, what you're sharing in terms of the secure coding guidelines that should be followed by any developer while they are building it. Also, are they able to encrypt the traffic using a TLS? That also makes it more secure. Can you also do an inventory and manage your APIs, is what I also read between the lines with between what you say. Because we are building a lot of APIs today, a lot of APIs could be used, could be dropped, but do we look at retiring those APIs which would not be used? So it becomes very essential, as you say, the life cycle.
Nowadays, what the people has started doing, even if you do the organization where there is no API consuming, but internally, instead of using some kind of MQ and some kind of middleware applications, they try to consume API within the application. Either you have the core applications, then you have CRM, then you have some another application. Then internally they will start writing code to consume API. This will consume that will consume this. This is not a good practice. Rather, we should be putting some kind of middleware, some kind of API gateway, and so that these two devices become the central for consuming any kind of API or any kind of internal communications as well.
True. So we need a good platform in place. An API platform is what you're saying. So very good, very interesting. Thanks again for that, Balram. It's been an interesting pointer that you have raised out over here. And then moving over ahead, like Yogesh, I'm just thinking that every day when we wake up, especially for CISOs and CIOs, right, what's happening is new and new, we are having coinage of terminologies. So it is becoming very imperative again for us to start exploring these different terms. Like, we are talking about EDR, we are talking about MDR, we are talking about XDR. So probably as the head of security and the CISO, how do you strategize and see like what is the best fit for an organization? Like, should I go for EDR, MDR, XDR? What would the strategy be? How do I decide what should my platform be and how do I move forward with it?
So, Mukund, thanks for asking. It's a very relevant question for nowadays, because there's again a jargon, technologies, different words we use. But what do we really mean by those words, and how is it affecting really the business to your cybersecurity perspective? We need to really understand. First and foremost thing, there is no golden bullet which can just put a MDR and everything is secure. It's not like that. So we have to be very attentive towards that, assessing the environment. What is the environment actually? What is our businesses? And what is the risk that we are having with the business? And what is our, where is our data lying? Are we mature enough or not? The cyber security maturity is very, very important. If the organization have not started even plugging the periphery properly, then there is no point that we deploy just EDR, MDR, and we are thinking that we are good. Oh, because Mukund has implemented it, let's me implement it. So there is no copy paste that can work over it. So technologies day and day evolve, right? And again, if we let's say deploy EDR, so we cannot say that the EDR will remain for lifetime. You have to reevaluate it as the time goes, and the technology evolution is there. So we being a cybersecurity defensive side, right? So, but there are offensive side. The hackers are trying like anything. We are even not coordinating between various CISOs. We are not united properly, right? That's a truth, fact, right? If one is compromised, he's not sharing with all, right? But in case of hackers, they are sharing like anything. If they get even one clue, they are sharing across the industry. It goes to the lakhs of hackers, right? And they go and try and exploit everything. And there, when you say EDR or MDR or XDR, if even basic thing you have not implemented, then there is no point to implement, right? New MDR or XDR, right? So it's very important from that perspective that first we need to evaluate what are the solutions really relevant for us. On I can go and explaining EDR, what is EDR or MDR, but it doesn't mean. First we have to think, right? And understand business. What is our business? What is our business tools are there? Are we, our digital transformation strategy, is it matching to the cybersecurity strategy? Our board, our the other members understand, and have we filled the basic security gaps or not, right? So if we talk about SOC, I tell you one example. So in SOC, if there was an alert and which was notified by an engineer, manager said it is a false positive, but 3 days later the compromise happened, right? Who is the responsible? Is the SOC responsible, or is the EDR or MDR responsibility? Then suddenly that jargon came, no, you deploy XDR, it is way beyond the SOC. So means your existing SOC is not effective. There is nothing that person can do. Huh? So this is not only the technology, we have to understand the overall scenario. Yeah, that's my point.
I want to add something what Yogesh said.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
So you were talking about the implementation of EDR, and then MDR, then XDR, the all kind of tools and technology which we have implemented in past and we are implementing. So all are necessity while you are working in organization. So EDR is nothing but the replacement of the antivirus. There is the basic difference. There is the basic difference. Whereas the earlier days, the pandemic had, in pandemic, EDR has saved a lot of organization. Whereas for traditional antivirus, where you have to, update the definition weekly or monthly basis, this has helped because EDR works on AI/ML platforms. That has helped. Now I will come on the MDR. MDR is the traditional, that SOC which they have given, but they are having additional some kind of feature that's called threat intel, which is happening on 24/7, 365. And another feature which has been added, user behavior analytics. Apart from that, they are giving some kind of SOAR, a standard update, SOAR platform where you can automate your incident so that it's not going to be happen in the day or two. At least it's required to have, month or 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months to automate your incident. So incident could be from server, could be from network device, hardware device, could be from your laptop, desktop. You have to automate this risk and then you can minimize the risk. And this is the, the ongoing process. No one can guarantee 100% of day
yes,
one.
yes, 100%.
Yeah.
Effective implementation is also very important. Yes. We implement various things, but effective implementation, nobody looks back. What is implemented? Oh, we have got it implemented, gone ahead, then implement another technology.
Correct.
What we look for, we have not looked for the effective implementation also.
Yeah.
So very true. I really love what you both have been able to bring across on this very interesting, like EDR and MDR and XDR could be a topic by itself, and very interesting thoughts over there, because especially where Yogesh ji, you had mentioned that one size does not fit all. Like, every organization is different, every strategy is different. So what works for one may not work for the other, because some organizations probably may only look at an EDR kind of solution. But because they may have the people in place, they may have the right, they have the resources in place. But then an organization probably which does not have the resources may then want to even move forwards to an MDR kind of solution, or the more advanced where they go towards XDR. and also as how Balram has been able to put together in terms of how we are able to loop in and look at how the various products can talk in synonym with each other. How do we ensure that the deployment happens in tandem? I think those are very important driving factors that will be required for any kind of deployment, and especially when we are looking at these new jargons that are being coined every day. It becomes that very essential for us. So I think as the industry evolves, the technology evolves, the process evolves, and people also evolve together, all three together. I think we will be able to better put these things in place where we'll have 100% efficiency, or near 100% is where we can go. So thanks for that. And then probably I'll move towards Sunil. And I felt this is a great area where I could ask Sunil, because a lot of things that we are observing today in terms of the proliferation of the threat actors and organizations becoming more and more vulnerable than ever before. Cyber insurance, and since you come from HDFC and life insurance, I understand. I thought, let me ask you this in terms of cyber insurance is being reconsidered on a big scale. Earlier, we didn't look at it in that way. How are we looking at cyber insurance, or what should we probably negotiate on a cyber insurance or with cyber insurance providers? Because that would also help in fortifying the business in terms of cyber security piece.
Yeah, great. So that's a nice question, and it's not a very simple answer, because that talks about a very detailed answer. I won't be able to get into the detailed answer, but I will talk about my perspective of from an insurance point of view. Insurance is now very important as on date for the companies like which have high brands. And talking about all the threats. So when Balram talk about threats, Yogesh talk about many things, and Mukund, you also talk about a lot of things, and other companies also talk about a lot of threats and a lot of risk. To overcome, to mitigate those risks, there is not everywhere it is possible that you are able to tolerate or do a treatment to a particular risk. There is always going to be a residual risk, which is something which is unknown to you, which is when you talk about trust, we talk about zero trust. Is something which we don't trust. So that is where the reinsurance will come in place, and that will help you and ease down your kind of a negotiation process as part of maybe could be a ransomware attack, and maybe we might have to pay some millions of rupees to those team. That will help you in negotiate those things, and that is the reason why insurance is so important as on date for companies. And but again, it's a one side. The other side of insurance is when actually a company goes for insurance, there is a lot of things, lot of checks and balances which a particular reinsurer will try and understand from you from a security point of view. What is that you have implemented? How effective you have implemented? They will do a lot of questioning, and they will try to understand from the kind of an security controls which you have implemented across company. And that basis that they will try and then derive on a particular price or a premium which you might have to pay on an annual basis. Again, what I have seen since last 3 years of I think the post pandemic. So before pandemic, we say for example, a company used to pay, say for example, 5 lakhs for a for a kind of a cyber insurance point of view, but that has increased to 3-fold now. So company has now have to pay almost 15 to 20 lakhs for a particular cyber insurance as part of that annual coverage is concerned, which includes everything. So which includes even the ransomware kind of a thing, and those relevant high level and sophisticated attacks also. So a lot of such things are covered. But again, stated that insurance is very important because that will help you ease out the process, and that will give you an additional advantage for the residual risk. That is something which I want to cover from an insurance segment point of view.
Perfect. I think that's a great thought that you have shared, Sunil. You were able to cover quite a few things. You said you'll have a very limited, you'll have an answer that is going to be in a way to trucks, but you shared a lot more because you explained the process of how the cyber insurance premium is going to get calculated today. It's
Correct.
Probably where we will have to submit what my cyber security posture or the score is probably going to be, right?
Correct.
Because today a lot of questions like CIOs like myself and other people probably have in terms of how do we calculate the cyber insurance premium? What could be those parameters? And you've been able to touch very, on that particular note and say that, these things are essential to identify and assimilate what will be needed to look at your cyber coverage. And once we look at the cyber coverage, where you've also been able to talk about the risks, and the risks that you mentioned were people-based risk, process-based risk, and the technology-based risk, and the business-based risk, and where the premiums also get impacted on that particular note, becomes so important. And as you rightly said, when I was talking to to cyber insurance agents prior to COVID, and now there's been a complete shift. Earlier, where where the chase used to happen, where they used to ask us about take cyber insurance, and now where we are going towards them and saying hey, we want cyber insurance, the knock on the door has also actually shifted. So I think you've put it very well together in terms of the 3x change and the 5x change. This is,
Yeah.
I'm able to
just to add one more thing is earlier the cyber insurance is to give us this insurance policy in that period of time, but now there are a lot of chances that even the policy gets declined because you might not meet the control. So that is always a possibility now. So that is a kind of a strategy or the vision change from an insurance point of view or reinsurance point of view. And as a CISOs, we always have to be on our tools to ensure that those relevant controls are in place, because it can be anytime. It can be anytime, and if the moment it goes out, and then we don't have anything else, but we have to always rely on the insurance.
Very, very true. So it makes the job even more tighter for all of us, not thinking that we could take the insurance, but then even to qualify for the insurance, where these various parameters are coming into picture and we need to adhere to, so that we can still get the insurance if something does happen. So very well put.
Going to be double while the PDPA Act is going to enforce in India.
Yes,
post winter session. Either I'm not sure this is going to be that successfully passed or not, but if it is coming in India, it's going to be double.
Very true, very true. Now, the winter session is when they are probably expecting it, is what I also have been hearing from sources. But we'll just have to wait and see if it gets passed, and with that we will get to understand what else is being built into the PDP bill that will be coming up over there. So that also brings a very the whole thought process, like when we are looking at there's a lot of effort that probably is going in today in terms of securing the the IT part of our systems. But then the OT part, a lot of breaches that have happened today recently has been from the OT side. Would any of you would like to just share any thoughts from your how do you feel in terms of OT security and why OT security becomes that important? I would probably leave this open across.
Can I take this?
Sure, Manoj bhai, please.
Okay. So I'll not name the organization, there's an incident that happened. One of the oil rigs was closed. Okay. That company was operating several rigs, and one of them was closed, and it was boiled down to there is a compromise on the OT security, and it was closed. So if you look at OT and the IT systems, they follow a different software update life cycle. Like the OT devices, their OS is more tied to firmware-based kind of OS rather than the OS that traditional Windows and other things that we use in our IT environment. So the update cycle has been generally longer than the IT systems. Like if you have a Linux or a Windows system, which Microsoft may release every Friday or every Tuesday, there is a patch release, or they do update, H1, 20 H1, 21 H1, H2, and things like that. The OT system, SCADA or any other system, they will have a slightly longer, cycle. But beyond that, what is happening is, see those systems in organizations, how they were protected earlier and versus how they are protected, it has changed because they are now connected. So what the organization do, initially they had burnt their hands by connecting directly to the internet and network, completely network. Okay. Now most of the organization that I know of, the OT systems are beyond a proxy, and the kind of proxy, reverse proxy or something that they use, and which is not directly accessible. And most of the organizations, they isolate the network it is not logical isolation. They rely more on physical isolation. That's how they are doing it now, and stricter controls are being put. So, but very important, the cycle, the update cycle for OT systems, which used to be more than 8 months, 6 to 8 months, now has reduced to maybe 3 to 4 weeks. That means every month there is an update. And security updates, what I came to know is much more frequent than it has been coming earlier. So that's a change. Just one comment I just wanted to make on the API.
Yes,
That
please,
you are
by all
talking
means.
about. See, in essentially API security, what you protect: interface, access, and data. These are the three things that you need to protect. And what are the different items? Authentication, authorization. Then you need to have good accounting. Beyond that, you will have to have encryption and signing,
Right.
the key and certificate management. These are the these forms the whole gamut of API security that needs to be taken care of. Then you have mutual SSL and things like that. So those are also important. And I'll give you some numbers. See,
Right.
While Mukund was talking about the API gateway and the importance of investing in that, I'll tell you some numbers. Like, say, in 2016, Google acquired a company called APG around 625 million. Okay. Now, with a similar capability, Salesforce acquired MuleSoft, which is at 6.5 billion.
Right.
And Visa acquired another company called Plaid, which is around 5.3 billion. So 625 million in 2016 to coming to 6.5 billion to acquire a company which provides this API gateway. So API gateway has become very, I think very important if you are especially dealing with number of APIs in your environment. So it's not API economy when you talk about it has become an enabler. Turn the business into a platform. That means you can interact with a platform rather than interacting with a business with a different interfaces. So integrating and connecting people, creating a user experience, share data, authenticate, enable transactions. These are some of the things that API gateways or APIs are capable of doing. So off topic.
Sure. I think very interesting. Thanks, Manoj, for pitching on those two areas. Especially if I was to probably resonate with what you had mentioned in terms of the OT network, where you had very clearly categorized how do they split the there's no even a physical and a logical separation where we call as the air gap networks, right? So where people say we'll have an air gap network where these two networks even do not talk to each other, the IT and the OT network. But how do we establish that gateway together where we can send data across both these two platforms becomes so essential today. So thanks for raising those thoughts over there. I think that was quite interesting. And another very important thing that a lot of manufacturing industries, as you rightly said, right, the oil rig and a few more companies where they had the problem was these firmwares don't get updated as what you called out. These firmwares for years, sometimes they don't get updated. The PLCs or the SCADA devices that are there or the HPLC devices, they probably from the time that has been in the christened, from the time the name was christened, they still have been the same without any updations of the firmware. So very true in terms of now there has been a shift in the recent times where people are saying that no, yes, we need to ensure that we will have regular firmware updates. So very, very important. And thanks for going back on the API platform. More than an economy, it's becoming an API platform based business today. That's where people are heading towards. And I think great points once again over there. Thanks for sharing that with us, Manoj. I think again, I think we are almost at the right point of time, and we do have a hard stop again over here. But I think there's some time left now for any Q&A that anybody might have, please, from the audience. So Nikita, over back to you, probably. Would there be some Q&A or?
Just a second. Hello. All right. Thank you so very much, gentlemen. What an enlightening